Alright everybody, time for part 2 of how to make a NEEDLEHEARTS doll. We've got our materials that we assembled in part 1, like those little champagne wire toppers. We've got some needle nose pliers with wire cutters, we have an X-Acto knife, our little poker, and the base, the Tropicana orange juice base. Well, let's start by making the skeleton, quick transformation, and combine it into this. So what we did is we just popped out the actual cap, and then we wound the wire around itself. It's just the two pressed on top of each other, and you just kind of bend it into like a rough little skeleton like that. It gives the clay a base to stand to. You can start, thinking about the pose and maybe rearrange some of the, the limbs, arms and legs to seem a little bit more natural, and think about where you want to position the doll. Now this next part is sped up a little bit. I have taken the floral wire and I am just twisting it around the hammer that I pre-built in the previous video, just trying to make sure that it's nice and tight on there. I'm still going to cover it with air dry clay later, but just getting some wire in there so I can, again, see everything all together. I'm putting a little bit more floral wire around the actual body itself so that the air dry clay has a little bit of structure to stick to in the center of mass there, and then just I keep positioning it back over and over again on the base just to make sure that I like the pose and stuff. I took a little extra piece of the champagne wire and I'm twisting it just into like a rough ball shape. I used a little bit of the needle nose pliers here, sorry it's off the screen, but I really just kind of smashed it into a rough little bird's nest. Again, air dry clay is going on top of all of this. But there we go. You can see the rough skeleton there. X-Acto knife. Pachoo! And this part is pretty important. I like to poke a little hole in the base to sit like a pin through. It's just a piece of the champagne wire that goes through the base of the Tropicana cap. But what I can do is I can test the pose, make sure it still works. And you'll notice that I keep doing that over and over and over again. But I will come back to that in the near future, I promise. Here I'm going at it with the air dry clay. It's like Crayola air dry clay. Expensive stuff, you can get like a whole big bucket of it for pretty cheap. This part does not have to be very detailed. Don't worry about getting in the details. We're going to focus on the details a little bit more when we get to part 3 with the actual paper towel stuff. But this is just about form. This is not terribly different than the actual skeleton itself. This is just stuff to mount the rest of the doll on. Here you can see I've tested it yet again. And let's talk that pin a little bit more. I've grabbed some Gorilla Glue, like their super glue gel, and I'm just putting a little bit on the pin through there. That way I don't have to hold it quite so much. I don't have to hold it into the base anymore, and I can get that last little foot on there. I did end up covering some of the air dry clay with the rest, or with more of that Gorilla Glue super glue, just to cement it to the base there again, and I tested out the shield a little bit. I'm still super pleased with that. I'm really excited with how that's going to come out. But yeah, take a look at your work. We are going to let this dry overnight, and here we can see it the next day in all its cakey glory. But here at this point you can rebend it a little bit, but be careful because that stuff is fragile. On to part 3.